Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Pratima. Good afternoon.
Okay, so let's start with the next module, which is module 11, and it's link you. Okay, so in this module, we have to cover the concepts like what is link you, why we use link you, then what is the query syntax and the method syntax provided in link you, along with lambda expression. Okay, so this link you, it is also referred as link. Okay, means it can be pronounced as link you as well as link. Okay, you can call anything. Then what is the full form of link or link you? It's language integrated query. Okay, so before starting with this language integrated query format, let me explain one basic concept or the prerequisite of why this link queue has been introduced in ASP.NET. Because the thing is in .NET framework, before .NET framework 3.0, this link queue concept was not there. Okay, means it is actually introduced in .NET framework 3.0. So I can say this is newly added component of .NET framework, and it can be used along with C Sharp, ASP.NET, MVC, anywhere. Okay, there is no restriction that you can use link queue only with ASP.NET. It can be used with C Sharp also. And I will take all three examples. We will learn how to use link queue with console application, how to use it with web application, and how to use it with MVC application. Okay, so what is the prerequisite? Now, in general, for database connectivity purpose, we have to make the use of ADO.NET. ADO.NET, what it refers to, it's ActiveX data object, which allows us to connect database with any type of .NET application. Now, the problem with ADO.NET is what? In case of ADO.NET, they have given different type of namespaces. Okay, on the basis of network providers. Okay, means if there is SQL server, then we need to make the use of namespace as system.data.sql client. If it is MySQL, then we need to make the use of system.data.mysql client. If it is MS Access, then we have to use system.data.odbc client. Okay, similarly OLEDB client, Oracle client. So what we have to do is, on the basis of data providers, we need to make the use of different like I can say namespaces. Along with that, now through those namespaces, whatever the classes they have provided, within those classes, we need to provide the queries on the basis of network, on the basis of data provider or on the basis of data source format. Okay, means the SQL query written in SQL Server is different than Oracle, than MySQL. So let's take an example that I have created an application which is currently connected to SQL Server database. Now, due to some problem, let's say due to maintenance issue, I wanted to switch from SQL data source, means SQL Server database, to MySQL database, means that RDBMS system, because MySQL is open source and it is totally free of cost. Okay, means you don't have to pay anything for MySQL database. So if I want to switch from SQL Server to MySQL, then what we have to do is we need to like modify the complete code. Means I have to change the query format, I have to change the classes, I have to change the namespaces. Okay, so in short, I have to redevelop my application. Okay, which we don't want. Why? Because it will take more time, and due to which our like it will affect on our business. Okay, so to avoid all these problems, what solution we have is we can make the use of link queue. Okay, because link queue, it provides an object oriented way to write the queries. Okay, means in general, for using database, we need to learn SQL first. But what if any developer says that I don't want to learn SQL and still I wanted to write the queries on any type of data source? Okay, so that can be possible with the help of this LINQ command. And that's why this is now mostly used in companies also. Okay, so introduction. Like while developing data centric application, you need to deal with two types of code. The one is business logic implementation code and another is data manipulation code. Okay, now business logic implementation code means what? The code which we have to write for button click or for performing anything, for calculating anything. And data manipulation code includes the code which is used for inserting data, updating data, deleting data, or selecting data. Means for performing such a kind of operation we can use this. Okay, the business logic implementation code is generally written by using a programming language. Okay, however, traditionally the data manipulation code includes the queries which are written in data source specific query language. Data source specific means what? Data source can be SQL server, it can be XML, it can be MySQL, it can be Oracle. So on the basis of those RDBMS systems, this data query language will be defined. Okay, and we have to write the code on the basis of that language. Therefore, in order to develop a data centric application, you need to learn a programming language as well as query language, both. Okay, in addition to this, if the data source of an application is changes, you need to learn a different query language and modify the data manipulation code of your application. Okay, means we have to learn a separate language as well as we need to manipulate that code. Okay, so which is again a tedious kind of work. Okay, means again it will require more time, etc. So to avoid that, so to overcome these issues, Microsoft has introduced language integrated query. Okay, it enables you to create data source independent queries in an application and offers different providers to work with the different data sources. Okay, so just like I said, that it create a query in an uniform way, or you can say in a universal way, which can be used with any type of data source. There is no restriction. Okay, LinkU, it simplifies accessing data by offering a consistent model for working with data across the various kinds of data source and formats. Okay, means if I want, I can use a different, like I can say, sorry, I can work with the different data sources, but we can write the same query for the all type of data sources. It is a set of APIs that enable you to create a data source independent queries to implement data access in an application. Okay, so within an application, if you want to access the data, if you want to work with that data, then it can be easily possible with the help of this, like I can say, LinkU. Then it has a programming model that provide the standard query syntax to query different type of data sources. Okay, like it has only one query format and that is applicable to all. Okay, and that's why it is called as standard query syntax. In LinkU, the query is written in any .NET supported programming language such as C# or VB. So it's totally a developer choice whether he want to go for the C# or VB. Okay, the LinkU query act on strongly typed collections of objects with the help of language keywords and the common operators. Okay, means what? Like here, we need to represent a table in the form of class and a single row of the table in the form of an object. Okay, so what you have to do is you need to consider those number of rows. Like if a single table contain 10 rows, then I will take those 10 rows as what? 10 objects. And the collection of objects can be taken with the help of collection, like either it can be a generic collection or a normal collection class. And with the help of those classes, we can work with this strongly typed collection objects, as well as with the help of methods. I can directly filter the data, or I can directly work with that data. Okay. This helps developer to quickly manipulate data from various data sources without requiring them to learn a new query language. Okay. So even if your data source is changes, what you have to do is you don't have to modify any type of code. You just have to modify only one code, which is written in web.config. Means you just have to modify the connection string, nothing else. Okay. Now, next, um, what are the uses of LinkQ? Like developer, he can use LinkQ to query on objects collection, which is called as LinkQ to objects. We can use LinkQ to query on ADO.NET data set, which is LinkQ to data set. I can use LinkQ to work with XML document, which is LinkQ to XML. Then similarly, we can work with entity framework, which is LinkQ to entities. And last is LinkQ to database. Okay, that is LinkQ to SQL database. Okay, in the same way, we have other data sources also, which can be implemented through iQueryable interface, which is you can see, which is comes on top of the collection framework. Okay, now let's understand the need of LinkQ first. Means why there is a requirement of learn or of learning LinkQ. Okay, so the concept is very simple. Let's say that I have this I have this class as student with three properties: student ID, name, and age. Okay, now once the class is created, we also have option to create its object. So let's say I have collected the student details of 10 students. Okay, and what I want is from those 10 students, I wanted to retrieve only the details of those students which has which are teenagers. Okay, means whose age is greater than 12 and less than 20. Okay, those students are called as teenager students. So if I wanted to retrieve the data of only those students, then in general, what you have to do is you need to write the code something like this. Okay, means create one student class array first. Okay, once that array is created, next is create for each loop. Means to iterate through those objects, we need to make the use of for each loop and iterate through those objects. Within that, you need to write if else code, and through that I can retrieve a single object from an array, and then I can work with that object. Like we can check if the age of that like particular student is greater than 12 and less than 20, then we will list out that student as what? Teenager student. Okay, and then we can increase an index of array. Okay, so we need to write this much code, business logic code, to work with this student details. Okay, or to find out the teenager student detail. But instead of that, if I use LinkQ to objects concept over here, and if I make the use of query or method syntax of LinkQ, then this code can be shortened using a single line of code. Okay, how? Instead of writing this much code, that is starting from student array declaration up to this part, these lines can be replaced with the single line of code using its method syntax as student array teenager students equals to student array, that is our collection, dot where in bracket. Now this is lambda expression, which I'll explain later. This is just an example. So s equal to, or lambda operator, s dot age is greater than 12 and s dot age is less than 20 dot to array. Okay, so I can provide a method syntax, LINQ method syntax, to work with this collection of objects. And this particular where condition will be applied on each and every object stored within that array. Okay, you don't have to iterate through those objects separately. This particular line is responsible for iterating through that array. Okay, so you can see those 6 lines of code can be reduced to the single line of code just because I'm using LINQ over here. Okay, so let's see what are the syntax of LINQ and how they exactly use. So LINQ basically has two different type of syntax. If I want, I can use a query syntax format, or I can use method syntax format. Like in some cases, the predefinedly given methods of this LINQ are not enough to perform the operations. So in that case, obviously we need to go for the query syntax format. Okay, this is also called as query expression syntax, and method syntax is also called as method extension syntax or Fluent. Okay, now what is LINQ query syntax? So from range variable in IEnumerable or queryable collection. So I can say from a single object in collection of object, then whatever the standard query operator you want to use, means equal to, plus equal to, whatever the operator we have to use that operator, use the where condition, and then select, or you can use group by clause, that result formation. Okay, means in general we need to write the code for I can say for retrieving the data from employee table as what? Select star from employee. Okay, here that same query can be returned as from S in employee select S. Okay, so that S will represent a single row from that employee table. Okay, and that row will be retrieved through that query. Okay, so data they have given the structure. Suppose if I have returned the query something like this, like var result. Now why we have returned over here as var? Because we don't know the exact type of data returned through this query. Okay, sometimes it can be a collection of object, sometimes it can be a scalar value. So it's better to store that result in a variable format. So var result equal to from S in string list. Okay, so str list is what? Is my collection. Okay, S will represent a single value from that collection, where S dot contains what? Tutorial. Then select S. Means what? If within that string list I have stored 10 different strings, it will first retrieve the first string, then it will compare that string with this condition, whether that string contain tutorials or not. If it contain that word, that string will be listed out through this S, okay, and stored it within a result. Then it will automatically switch to the second string. Again, that condition will be matched. If it is correct, that result will be taken. In the same way, it will compare with each and every value or each and every string available within that, like I can say string list sequence or string list collection. Okay, this is how a query syntax can be used. Okay, so let's take an example of this LINQ first, and then we'll take the other examples. Okay, so we'll switch to Visual Studio. Wait, I have to open that. So I'll switch to switch to Visual Studio first. Then over here, Like I have created some examples of LINQ. Okay, so let's take the first basic example. Now for using LINQ, what you have to do is you just need to import only one namespace, which is system.linQ. Okay, then within a main method, here I have taken simply a collection of string values. Okay, so I have taken a collection of string, then like I list string. Okay, string list is the name of that collection, equal to new list of strings. Then within that we have taken, means I have initialized the values as C# tutorials, VB.NET tutorials, Learn C++, MVC tutorials, and Java. Now, if I wanted to apply some conditions on this particular list, then in general, what kind of code you have to write? Like, take an example. If I'll ask you to retrieve only those values or only those strings which contains tutorials keyword, then to retrieve the same, I need to use for each loop. Then within that for each loop, we will apply the condition. If that whatever the variable we have taken, let's say s, if s dot contains tutorials, then fetch that s and store it within another array. Okay, likewise you have to sort the data first. Once it is filtered out, you need to display that another collection to the user. Okay, so what if I don't want to provide, or I don't want to make the use of such a kind of code over here? Then the easiest solution we have is I can make the use of LINQ to query on this collection data. So how the LINQ query syntax is used? If I wanted to retrieve the data as, wait, I will comment this section first. If I wanted to fetch all string values or the collection of data as it is with the help of LINQ query syntax, then I can write it as var result equal to from S in string list select S. So actually this means what? Select star from string list. So all the values from the string list will be retrieved and stored within a result. Okay, and what you have to do is, using for each loop, we can display a single value from that result. I can say filtered data from that result. Okay, so let's see the output of this first. Here I have taken a basic console application. Now we are not working with ASP.NET application. I have taken this example on console. So you can see within output screen, it will display all the values, that is C# tutorial, VB.NET tutorial, Learn C++, MVC tutorial, etc. Now what I want is, I want only those tutorials which contains that tutorials keyword. Okay, so to do the same, what we have to do is, we need to change the query. So how we can write the query? Oh, we need to write the query as from S in string list, where s dot contain tutorials select s. So within this variable s, first of all, what value is taken? C# variable. It will compare that value with this condition. So yes, it is matched. It will list out that C# tutorial within result. Then similarly, VB.NET tutorial, this also match. It will list out it within a result. Then Learn C++, this doesn't match with the given condition, so it is excluded. Similarly, MVC tutorial, this is matched. It is added within result. Java, it doesn't match. It is excluded from the result. Okay, so within a result, how many values are stored or how many objects are stored? Only 3. That is C# tutorial, VB.NET tutorial, and MVC tutorials. Okay, so let's see the output. बेटा, अरे हाँ सॉरी, टास्क मैनेजर, why it is not executed? एक मिनट. So now it is executed. After execution, wait, I will share you the output. It will display the output something like this: C# tutorials, VB.NET tutorials, and then MVC tutorials. Now, what if I'll ask you to provide, or I'll ask you to display only those like values which doesn't have this tutorials keyword? Then in that case, you can use where not s dot contain tutorial. Means if that s doesn't contain tutorial word, then only you have to retrieve its value. Okay, so just save this and execute it. Okay, so once we will save and execute, you can see it displays the output as learn C++ and Java. So other than that C# tutorial and VB tutorial, the values will be retrieved. So this is query syntax. Sorry, for the first example. Similarly, I have created another example. In this example, instead of creating a normal string objects, I have created some proper objects of a class. Okay, like data. I have created one class over here as class student with three properties, that is student ID, name, and age. Okay, and their corresponding getter and setter methods. Then within a class program and within a main method, we have created one collection as list of which type of object? Student objects. Its list equal to new list of students, and then within that particular object, means within the student list object, I have created the collection of students in anonymous way. Okay, means here only I have written new student in bracket, student ID 1, student name, age. Similarly, new student likewise. Now if you want, or if you think that this code is quite complicated, then you can create the student object separately. S equals to, or I will say S1 new student. Oh, wait. C6. Done. I have added this particular object. Now you can add the same object within this collection. So comma S1. Okay, so you can simply write that student list dot add, or student within that student list only you can add this S1, S2, S3 likewise. Okay, so I have added these many objects over here. Now once these many objects are added, next thing what I want is, I wanted to find out the teenager students from the same. Okay, so what kind of query I have written over here? Where teenager students equals to from S in student list, where S dot age is greater than 12 and S dot age is less than 20. Select S. Okay, so this is how it can be retrieved. Okay, so S will represent the first object, where the age of student, that is age of Komal, is given as what? 13. So 13 is greater than 12 and it is less than 20. It means she is what? Teenager student. Then second one is Selva. Now his age is greater than 12 but less than, not less than 20. So the condition become false. His details will not be added into the teenager students. Then again Ravin details will be added into the teenager students. Tushar detail, his details will not be added. Why? Because his age is 20 and I have given the condition as what? Age must be less than 20, not less than equal to. Similarly, there is a Bala whose detail can be added, and then at the end, Pratima's details can also be added into the teenager students. Okay, so that teenager student variable will have all the student detail. And then using for each loop, we can iterate through that detail, means you can iterate through the objects of the students and we can display their name. Okay, so let's see the output. I need to forcefully close that application. Now wait up. So you can see the teenager student details are added. Okay, this is how it will work. Now let's make some changes over here. What kind of changes? Let's see. And why this S1 is not taken? I wanted to fetch only those students whose name contains A. So where result equal to from S in student list where S dot contains, what happened? S dot student name dot contains, means on a particular column also you can apply the condition. If it contains A, then select S. Done. Result. Let's execute it. So now you can see Komal, Selva, Ravin, Tushar, Bala, Pratima. All the student details are retrieved because their name contains word as A. Okay. Similarly, if I'll use S, wait, means I can provide any type of condition over here. If it contains S, let's see the output. Now only two values will be retrieved, that is Selva and Tushar, because only these two students has S in their name. Okay, done. So this is what the query syntax provided by LinkU. In the same way, if you want, you can use method syntax also. Okay, now how this method syntax is given? Method syntax is also known as what? Fluent syntax, which uses extension methods included in the IEnumerable or queryable static class, which are similar to how you will call the extension methods of any class. Okay, it's just like we can call like any object.toString or anything like that. In the same way, here also we can use this method syntax format. Okay, like if there is a method called as where, then within that extension method, you just have to provide the lambda expression. Now, what this lambda expression is, okay, that we need to understand first for learning this method syntax. Okay, so lambda expression, like it is introduced in C# version 3.0 and .NET version 3.5. Okay, it introduced the lambda expression in LINQ. The lambda expression is a shorter way of representing anonymous methods using some special syntax. Okay, some special syntax means what? Any type of syntax. Okay, like I can say the syntax which is used over here will look something like this. Okay, like S is called as a parameter. You can take it as a range variable. Okay, which will represent a single object. Then that parameter lambda operator is denoted by using equal to an angular bracket symbol. S dot age, okay, means whatever the object we have stored within that S, that object dot age is greater than 12 and less than 20, then that S will be selected and stored it within a resultant variable. Similarly, it will take S as the second object. It will apply the condition on that object. That data will be retrieved and stored. Similarly, it will work with the third, fourth, likewise, multiple objects. Okay, but this is how the syntax must be used. Okay, now let's see the example of method syntax first. So if I want to work with the same using method syntax, means here I just want to replace this query syntax with the method syntax. How it can be replaced? So to do the same, I will say where result equals to string list dot where. What condition we want to apply? As lambda operator S dot contains what? Tutorials. Okay, this is how the condition can be applied. Okay, so that is called as what? Query, sorry, this is called as method syntax, not query syntax. Like oh wait, I've not set this as a startup project. So now after applying the method syntax, if you will check the output, it is displayed as C# tutorials, VB.NET tutorials and MVC tutorials. Okay, so the method syntax can be easily returned. In the same way, if I want to return that method syntax for the students, how it can be written? Let's see. So here you can simply write, oh wait, here you can simply write var result equals to student list dot where in bracket S equal to S dot age is greater than 12 and S dot age is less than 20. So only the teenager students details will be retrieved. Okay, let's see the output. Okay, so you can see the output. Within output screen, only three students are displayed, that is Komal, Ravina and Bala, because these are the teenager students. Okay, so this is how method syntax can be used. Okay, if I want to display the students whose name contains a using method syntax, then that can also be possible. Wait, the screen is blocked. So generally this happens with Visual Studio. That's why I have to switch to the another screen. So now only two students are there. Their name contains S. So those students' details are displayed to the user. So this is all about link queue concept in .NET. I understood this concept.
Yeah, Pratima.
Okay, just a minute. Huh? Okay, so now ASP.NET is completed over here. What we have to learn next is one of the concept remaining from ASP.NET, which is its life cycle. Okay, so let's cover the page lifecycle and application lifecycle of ASP.NET. It's completely a theoretical part, but in interviews, this page lifecycle is asked for the maximum times. Okay, means whenever there is a question asked on ASP.NET, generally that question is asked on its lifecycle only, and that's why it is important to learn. Okay, so I have one document for the same, so I'll refer that document. So ASP.NET lifecycle. Okay, what exactly the ASP.NET lifecycle is? Now lifecycle will simply denote the stages from starting of the application to ending of the application, and all of those stages are referred as a lifecycle. Okay, so when an ASP.NET application is launched, there are series of steps which are carried out. Okay, and these series of steps makes the life cycle of the application. Okay, means it will create the life cycle of an application. Okay, so life cycle of application has total 5 stages: application start, object creation, HTTP application creation, dispose, and then application end. Okay, so first we have to learn application lifecycle. Now this is not asked in interview, but as it is a prerequisite for learning page lifecycle, that's why I'm taking it first. So application lifecycle, as I said, it includes only 5 stages. It's related to only the application, not a specific page level. So when I launch the complete website, means when we enter the URL of our website for the first time, at that time this application lifecycle will be started. Okay, so it has first stage as what? Application start. Okay, the life cycle of an ASP.NET application starts when a request is made by a user. Okay, and this request is to the web server for the ASP.NET application, not for the specific page. Okay, this happens when the request uses when the first user normally goes to the home page for the application for the first time. During this time, the application start method is called, which is executed by the web server, and usually in this method all the global variable are set to their default values. Okay, like in state management demo, we had already seen this application state. Okay, like we need to create global.esx file, and within that file, global application file, this application start method is already available. And if you want to initialize any one of the global variable, then that variable can be initialized with the help of this application start. And when those variables are initialized, when we made the request for that particular application for the first time, okay, this method is executed only once, not for the repeated times. Okay, now once this is done, next is you need to create some of the objects for that complete application. Okay, so the second stage is what? Object creation. Okay, next stage is the creation of HTTP context and HTTP request and the response objects by the web server. The HTTP context is just the container for HTTP request and response objects. And the HTTP request, now as you know, these objects are always required for our processing purpose. Okay, like HTTP request object is what? It is simply used to like send the request to the server. So it contains all the information required for the current request, which can include the cookies, browser information, everything. Okay, and that's why for retrieving the cookies, we generally have to make the use of method, sorry, object called as request. And similarly, the response object, it contains the response that is sent to the client. Okay, so as we already know that we need response object which can be used to send the response. Like if I wanted to create a cookie and send it to the client, then that cookie can also be sent through what? Response object. Means what we have to write is response dot something. Okay, means response dot cookies, then response dot redirect. So from where these objects are retrieved? These are retrieved through this object creation stage of application lifecycle, because that request and response object, they are used for each and every page available in the application. It's not like it can be used only for a single page or only for the application level. It can be used at page level also. Okay, then HTTP application creation. Okay, the third stage. Okay, the object is created by the web server, and it is this object that is used to process each subsequent request sent to the application. Means what? Let's say we have two different applications, web application within a single server. Okay, because web server is only one. There is only one web server called as IIS. Okay, and within that server only all the objects, or you can say, sorry, all the applications are hosted. So let's say we have web server, and within that web server we have two different type of application. One is shopping cart and another is a news website. Now for each of this application, we will have two HTTP application objects created. Okay, so any further request to each website will be processed by each HTTP application respectively. Okay, so whenever we have to work with the shopping cart application or shopping cart website, the request to the shopping cart will be processed by the HTTP application object of shopping cart. And similarly, the request to the like news website will be processed by the HTTP application object of that particular news website. Okay, so for every website, these two separate objects are created. Okay, then we have dispose. This event is called before the application instance is destroyed. Okay, and during this time, one can use this method to manually release any unmanaged resources. Okay, unmanaged resources means what? Let's say we have referred any database. Okay, because obviously when we are using websites, we always make the use of database also. Okay, so that database is not directly released. Okay, so for releasing such a kind of object, we can use dispose method. So that connection can be closed within dispose method. Okay, and after releasing this resources, we can say after free of that resources, the application is ready to end or ready to close. Okay, so that will happen in last stage, that is application end, which is the final part of the application. In this part, the application is finally unloaded from the memory. Okay, so these are main 5 steps of application lifecycle. The steps are very easy. First, we have to run application start method where all the global variables will be initialized. Second is all the required object like context, response, and request. These 3 objects are created within a second stage. Then in third stage, HTTP application object is created, which is separately used. Okay, and in last stage, in a fourth stage, dispose method is invoked, which is used to destroy the unmanaged resources manually. Okay, and the last one is when the application is ended. At that time, application end method from the global.asx file is invoked, and then the memory allocated to that application is released. Okay, so that is all about application lifecycle. And now we have to start with the most important part, which is page life cycle. Okay, because this life cycle is mostly asked in interview. So what is page life cycle? Let's see. Like when an ASP.NET page is called, it goes through a particular life cycle, and this is done before the response is sent to the user. Okay, means I can say before the output is displayed to the user. Okay, and there are series of steps which are followed for the processing of ASP.NET page life cycle. Okay, so what are the steps? It has total 7 stages. Here I have given 8, but I said 7. It's just because in some cases only 7 stages work. What are those? First one is page request. Then we have page start, page initialization, page load. Now validation is totally optional. Okay, it's not mandatory that you have to use validation in each and every page. And generally validation step comes when the page includes some forms. Okay, if there is a registration or login page. If it is an index page, then generally that validation stage or step doesn't come. Okay, then post back event handling, page rendering, and unload. Okay, so page request, first we have to start with that stage. What is page request? Now this is when the page is first requested from the server. Okay, means I can say when I click on that register link, hyperlink, or login hyperlink, at that time the page will be requested for the first time through us. Okay, when the page is requested, the server will check if it is requested for the first time or not. So if it is requested for the first time, then it needs to compile that page, parse the response, and send it across to the user. Means we have to perform the complete functionality if I have requested that page for the first time. Okay, but if it is not for the first time, the page is requested, the cache is checked to see if the page output exists or not. And if so, means if that output exists, if that output is available in output cache, then that response is sent to the user. Okay, means directly that page will be displayed to the user. The further processing which we have to do for the first time request, that processing is not done. Okay, so at page request stage, simply we have to check or identify whether that request is made for the first time or not. If it is made for the first time, then we need to cache the output of that page, means we need to compile it, parse it, and then send the response as well as cache that output. And if it is not for the first time, then you directly have to load its output from the cache memory. Okay, not like you don't have to do it. Sorry, you don't have to compile it and execute it again. Okay, so that is again a first page request stage. Then the next one, page start. Okay, so now page start, what it exactly does. During this time, two objects called as request and response objects are created. Okay, the request is used to hold the information, all the information which was sent when the page was requested, and the response object is used to hold the information which is sent back to the user. Okay, so I can say a simple request and response information can be hold with the help of this request and response object. Okay, but for that purpose, obviously this objects must be created, and those objects are created with the help of what? Page start stage. Okay, then next one is page initialization. Okay, still the page is not visible, means this is like these first three steps, like page request, page start, and page initialization. These steps are like performed within a background only. Okay, like the current page is still not visible to the user. So what happened in the page initialization stage? During this time, all the controls on a web page is initialized. So if you have any label, text box, or any other controls on the web form, they are all initialized. Okay, means what? Generally, for buttons, we have to assign the text. For label also, we have to assign some text. For text boxes, we have to assign the text mode, etc. So whatever the properties we have given to those controls, those properties will be initialized, and then those controls are ready to be uploaded or ready to display on our output screen. Okay, so here I can say now my page is ready to load on our web browser. Okay, and that's why the next step is what? Page load. Okay, now this is when the page is actually loaded with all the default values. Means I can say this is the step where the page will actually become visible to the user. Okay, and that's why you're like, if you remember, then in maximum projects or programs, we have returned the code on page load event also, the code which needs to be immediately executed. Okay, that code must be returned on what? Page load event. Okay, like, so if a text box is supposed to have a default value, that value will be loaded during this page load time. Okay, means I can say for our edit functionality we had seen, for edit functionality, on the basis of product ID, we need to display the product name, its description, price on the text boxes. So that value is initialized where? Within that page load event only. Okay, now once that page is loaded, all the values, all the controls are become visible to the user. Now I can say the user can interact with that page. Okay, interacting with that page means what? If there is a form, then I will fill the data into that form. Now what happens if we are filling some data within a form? Then obviously we have to set some validation. Means we have to authenticate that form first, check that form again, certain criterias. Okay, so sometimes there can be some validation set on the form. Okay, and that's why I said that this step is totally optional. It's not a mandatory type of steps. This is performed for only in some cases. Okay, like for example, there should have a certain set of values. Sorry, for example, there can be a validation which says that list box should have certain set of values. Okay, and if the condition is false, then there should be an error in loading the page. Okay, means some data or some errors must be displayed over there if that validation is not performed properly, or if that validation is not successful. Okay, then now consider that validation is successful. I have entered data within a form, and now we have clicked on that submit button. Okay, so when we click on that submit button, I need to send that complete data to the server first. Okay, and for sending the data to the server, we are using which event? Button click event. Means for button click event, we will generate one event handler, and within that event handler we will put the complete code for submitting that data, or you can say registering that data. And that is nothing but postback event handling. So this event is triggered if the same page is being loaded again. Okay, means at the time of sending that data, the page is completely refreshed. Okay, and this happens in response to an earlier event, that is nothing but button click event. Sometimes there can be a situation that the user click on the submit button on a page, and in this case the same page is displayed again. Okay, so I can say in such a case the postback event handle is called. Okay, means that particular event handling is done. Okay, that is called as postback event handling. Okay, like in case of drop down list we had seen we need to enable auto postback manually. Similarly, for page load, generally we have to write the method over there to check whether the page is loaded for the first time or not. And what kind of method, sorry, property we have used over there is postback. So is postback, it returned true if the page is posted back to the server. Okay, means if this postback event handling step occur. Okay, because when the page is loaded for the first time, at that time which event occur? Page load. Okay, and within a page load only we have checked that what is postback event handling. Okay, then page rendering, this happened just before all the response information is sent to the user. Okay, means now postback event handling is done, my request is sent to the server, server is processing that request. Okay, now when the server is processing that request, obviously after processing the request it will generate some response, and now I have to send that response to the client again. Means I need to render that output on my client machine. Okay, and that's what we have to perform with the help of this page rendering. Okay, so this happened just before all the response information is sent to the user. Okay, like all the information on the form is saved and the result is sent to the user as a complete web page. Okay, means the response is generated, all the controls will be initialized with whatever the response is generated, and then the data, or you can say that response is sent. Okay, and the last one is what? Unload. Once the page output is sent to the user, there is no need to keep the ASP.NET Web Form objects in a memory. So the unloading process involves removing all unwanted objects from memory. Okay, means we can remove all the data from the memory. Okay, and all the resources acquired by that particular page will also be released. Means if that page makes the use of any text file, any Excel sheet, or any type of database object, then that object can also be removed. Okay, that's what the concept of page lifecycle is. Okay, so I'll repeat the steps again. First one is the page request. In a page request stage, the server will simply check the page is requested for the first time or not. If it is requested for the first time, then only it is compiled and parsed and the response is displayed. Else, the cached output will be displayed to the user. Second is page start. At this stage, two objects called as request and response will be generated. Request is used to handle or send the requested data to the user, to the server, and response is used to send an HTML response to the client. Then we have page initialization, where all the controls like text boxes, button, etc. will be initialized with their default values. Then we have page load. Okay, On page load event, the page is actually loaded on the browser and the output will become visible to the user. Here all the controls will be initialized. Okay, then we have validation, which is totally optional stage. This can be occur if you have a form within your website and if that form uses any type of validation. Okay, then in that case this particular validation stage occur. Here we will simply compare our user data, means enter data against certain criteria. If that data is validated, then I can say if that data is validated, then that particular uh, error message, or like if the data is not validated, then error message is displayed, else that data will be sent to the server. Then we have auto postback or postback event handling. At this stage, the event will occur and the data will be, or request will be sent to the server. Okay, means complete page is posted back to the server. The server will handle that event with the help of event handler and generate a response which can be sent to the user with the help of page rendering event. Okay, this happened just before all the response information is sent to the user. And once the response is sent to the user, the last is unload. Okay, so once the page output is sent to the user, the page will be unloaded from the memory. Okay, means all the memory which is allocated to that page will be deallocated or released. That is unload phase. Okay, so understood the page life cycle of ASP.NET pages.
Yeah, Pratima.
Okay, so here our complete ASP.NET module is completed. Okay, there is one project demo remaining which I'll take in between these lectures, like when I start with the MVC.NET also. So, or tomorrow we will first cover that project demo 3, because admin part is now completed. What we have to do is we need to start with the user part. Okay, so tomorrow I will take that project demo for first session, that is for the first 40 minutes, and then we will start with MVC. Okay, that is ASP.NET with MVC, which is our last module from the complete course. Okay, it will require like 1 week or more than 1 week. Okay, hello, am I?
Yeah, hello.
Okay, I thought I'm not audible.
No.
Okay, so mostly till 31st of July our course will be completed.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, Pratima.
okay then. Okay, now I'll
So,
share this Word
yeah.
file, means this document with you, and I think ASP.NET slides are also remaining now. I didn't share those.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
ठीक है,
yeah.
I will share all the content with you now.
Okay.
Okay.
प्रतिमा, आधीचे पण पाठवले नव्हते, मीन्स जे आपले झाले ना
सी
लेक्चर्स त्याचे.
शार्पचे झालेले. एडीओची पीपीटी मी नाही सेंड केली का अजून?
हो नाही केली.
बिकॉज मी एसक्यूएल नोट्स शेअर केलेल्या तुला. म्हणजे एसक्यूएल
एडीओ आणि
एडीओ रिमेनिंग असेल आणि ASP.NET रिमेनिंग आहे. वेबच्या पण मी पीपीटी सेंड केल्या आहेत, लाईक CSS जावा स्क्रिप्ट ते पण मी सेंड केलेलं. पण आय थिंक ASP.NET रिमेनिंग आहे आणि एडीओ रिमेनिंग आहे, आणि याचे एक्झाम्पल्स.
ओके.
ठीक आहे, मी ते कम्प्लीट शेअर करते तुला.
ओके
ओके
ठीक आहे, चालेल. ओके
ओके ठीक आहे देन.
ओके
चलो
बाय. ओके
बाय.
बाय.